everybody off mute, and we're out there for everyone to hear us.
Call the meeting to order. Ask everyone to stand and join in the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need a motion for the approval of tonight's meeting agenda as stated. Motion. Second. Motion by Mr. White, second by Mr. White. Any discussion? All those in favor? For whoever's running the online portion, if there's anyone online that would want to address the board on the topics, you can either come off mute and say something, which would preferably be your name and the topic you'd like to discuss, or type it in the chat message and they'll look for that. We'll give it just about 30 seconds here in case there's anyone. Right, that will be past the committee open forum and moving into item D. I'll make a motion to accept item D in its entirety. Make a second. Second by Mr. Boyd. Discussion. All those in favor? Yeah. And make a motion for item E. This is Wood. I will second. Any discussion on E? All those in favor?
All right, so what we have. All right, so what we have been doing quite some time now. Well, when I say quite some time, we've been preparing for what we thought the governor was going to be giving us, and then on the 17th, which was a few days ago, the guidelines came out. So the 145-page document. I forward that to all staff, but it's also Syracuse.com. It's very easy to get the 145-page document. Also, there is the actual plan in itself, that when you go to the portal, that's due on the 31st. It must be submitted for all school districts in New York State. I'm going to be putting something out tomorrow, because I wanted to wait for this board meeting, that kind of gives a 30,000-foot view to all staff, to parents, basically talking about a link to the 145-page document, just in case they couldn't find it. But then, even more importantly, they will see exactly what the criteria is that has to be submitted and approved by the state regarding the plan. So there are mandatory assurances. I just quickly want to say the categories. Communication, family and community engagement, and there are 5 assurances for that. Health and safety, mandatory assurances. There are a total of 20 assurances there. The next one is facilities. There's mandatory assurances. There are a total of 13 assurances there. Child nutrition. There are a total of 8 assurances. Transportation, mandatory assurances. There are a total of 18. Social emotional well-being. There are a total of 4. School schedules. There are a total of 8. Attendance and chronic absenteeism. There's 1. Technology and connectivity. There are 3 assurances. Teaching and learning. There are 6. Special education. There are 5. Bilingual education and other languages. 3. And teacher and principal evaluation systems. 1. Final one is certification, incidental teaching, substitute teaching, mandatory assurances. There's 1. So if people are wondering how does Central Square come up with a plan, I wanted to be completely transparent to show them what the restrictions and regulations also wanted to say that it is very clear it's not a 6-foot radius, it is 6 foot. I want to give kudos to Aaron Phillips and our Director of Facilities, Paul Brissett, went to the buildings and literally put circles and counted off 6 foot. If the kids here 6 foot, they started at the walls and they made their way in. And it looks in all the classes aren't the same size classrooms, but the overall average was about 11 to 12 kids per classroom doing it the right way. We are going to have extra furniture. The furniture can be used as barriers as well. The state said 6 feet. Once they're 6 feet apart, they can take the mask off. It's 6 feet or there's some type of barrier and they can take the mask off. We understand at the elementary level, you're going to have situations where teachers are really going to have to see their lips. Anybody that knows reading instruction, the kids have to form, they have to look at the teacher, especially the younger grades, and how they are, enunciating, forming their lips and their mouth to form things. So we're investing in clear shields for the, masks for the teachers. We're also going to have shields. But again, if you're 6 feet away, they can have the conversation like we are right now. So then the question was, who do we bring back? We had a teacher survey for distance learning. We went through that. Many, many responses, hundreds of responses from teachers. Thousands of responses for the distance learning survey from parents. Thousands of responses from the parents/guardians for the 6-question reopening. We put it right out there and we said, you feel comfortable sending your kid back to school? It was like 59.8% said, yes, we're going to send our kids back. 10.2% said, no. 30% were undecided. And again, that was out of 1,638 responses. I have been on the phone probably at least 2 hours every day with parents that call me up that were on the fence. They wanted to know about buses. I told them there would be no more than 22 kids on the bus, 1 kid in the seat. The seat tops are quite high. That's changed a long time ago. That serves as a barrier. They have to wear the mask. If there's a child on the bus that is for whatever medical reason, or it's a special ed diagnosis, they then have to make sure that they are 6 feet away from the other kids if they do not have a mask on. We are going to have not only the driver, but another staff member, whether that's a teaching assistant, or whether that's a cafeteria monitor, a bus monitor, that they are going to literally have to get off the bus. It takes about 22 seconds to shoot the temperature towards that student. If the student has a fever, that staff member, keeping a distance, has to walk that student back to the residence. They cannot get on the bus to expose everybody else. In the survey, about 97% of parents said they would have no problem in taking their kids' temperature. There were other ones that said they go to work before their kids get on the bus. Other people said they may forget. Doesn't matter anyway, because within this 145-page document, it says the district has to do that screening for the temperature. So we're working that out as well. Elephant in the room, who are we looking to bring in? We looked at the massive daycare issues that the majority of our elementary parents said we've got an issue here. A lot of us were able to be home. We're not able to be home now. Someone's going to have to, we can't afford daycare. It's an issue. Our older kids, we have older kids. It was too hard for them when they're like, my husband and I are both essential workers. We're not able to put that on our older kid in middle school or high school to do their distance learning and then also babysit the 7 or 8-year-old. We're like, we didn't want grandmother coming over who's 90 kind of thing and, has their own health issues. So we looked at that. We also looked at medical. And here's the interesting thing. Whether you're watching Fox and Friends or you're watching CNN, the one thing that they actually agree on is, for whatever reason, it's almost non-existent, the transference from a 4-year-old to a 12-year-old. Nobody knows why, but from 13 to 18, you see, that's where it changes. So we looked at the medical part of it, we looked at the parent surveys, the daycare part of it, but we also instructionally looked at significant gaps of having elementary kids home when we know the majority of our parents are working that don't have the opportunity, that really struggled with the supervision of the distance learning program. I will personally say my wife has a perfect situation. Her job is to be home with the kids, and she was still pulling her hair out. I have a special needs child, and that added to the mix. But we got a lot of parents that have special needs. So we can't forget about that. So in looking at all of that, looking at the parent feedback, the decision was to bring in elementary students as many days as we possibly could, and then do distance learning at the secondary level. Are there parents that are probably watching this right now that are upset about that? Sure. I also want them to know that we have to work under the constraints that were given to us by the governor and the best situation of utilizing our staff and our space. Even putting students in our elementary students, let's say 4th and 5th grade, in our middle school, it comes down to a staffing issue. We were not able to achieve our goal of having elementary students in 5 days a week. That's what we wanted to do. That would have been great. Smaller districts in our county will be able to achieve this just because of such a small population of students. Central Square, Oswego have a huge population, and we cannot pull off that. Even utilizing special area teachers, utilizing librarians to help with UPK. To make matters even more difficult for us, for whatever reason, they put a limit on UPK classrooms that were 18 before, now they're 8. So 8. Doesn't matter about social distancing, 6 people at 8. So given that, we need to then look, they also need to be on an AABB schedule. So what do I mean by that? We're allowed to utilize paraprofessionals, teaching assistants, other special areas people to be able to say, okay, in this classroom right here, let's say you've got 4th grade teacher. And the room right next to it would be a teaching assistant. That teaching assistant will be delivering the instruction that this teacher provided them to deliver, and then they switch. So then those kids come over, which is not far from what we do when you think about guided reading sessions where our TA would kind of monitor a group and whatnot. So we can do that, and we're going to have to do that to be able to utilize our staff. There's no way we can go out and hire 20 more teachers. Every teacher's salary and benefits $100,000, and we're waiting for the governor to still give us the numbers that we've been waiting for since May, to say it's another $2 million. So we have to be as creative as we can. What do I mean by AABB? So you basically take the kids at the elementary level, you divide the class basically in half, and then you would say, okay, you have the same kids that would come on Monday and Tuesday. Let's say nobody is on Wednesday, full distance learning, then you have the B kids Thursday, Friday. So in doing that, all the elementary students would be able to have in-person learning 2 days a week. What are they doing when they're at home? We would shorten the schedule. They would be done at 1 o'clock. That's when they would be getting on the buses. We still have contractual obligations that we have to abide by for our teachers, and we have to be realistic. Because we are going to have some parents, I already know this, we put the survey out, parents have called me and said, Mr. Calbuco, you guys have been great, your teachers are phenomenal, I just don't feel comfortable. My wife is recovering from cancer, I'm recovering from cancer, I've got massive diabetes, blah, 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 I don't feel comfortable sending our kids. Here's the deal, we're in the customer service business, there's no way as a superintendent I'm ever going to say, well, it's all or nothing, that you got to homeschool. Because those kids are our kids long term. And we already know right now that parents are saying, we're working, we have no one to be able to do that. So that we still have to be able to provide that distance learning. The parents have said, thank you, we appreciate this, if we feel more comfortable in October, then we'll send the kids back in. I said, absolutely, they'll be given a teacher of record from the beginning, and we go from there. Those teachers will have time, figuring they may have 1 or 2 kids in their class for distance learning, and they'll be given that time to be able to do that. The other big thing is, so the secondary would be full-on remote. The caveat to that is, we are having our principals zero in on those students. We already have some data, but we need to be accurate with phone calls, making sure that if it's 15 to 20 kids in each building, that they don't have Wi-Fi, depending on whatever. If they do have cellular, we can provide them a hotspot. If they don't, we are going to be bringing those secondary students in and providing them with supervision, because that's also part of the plan, the connectivity part. We can't just do what we did before, make copies, deliver to their house, and hope they get it. The state has cracked down on what we need to do for providing for all students correctly. So that high-need special education students will also be in more than 1 or 2 days a week. We're looking at that as well. So Again, AABB, there's going to be parents that are saying, I can't, no, we're not able to do this. That's the best that we can do, and that is utilizing our special area teachers and our TAs. It's just a staffing issue. And so, with that being said, I feel pretty comfortable that our distance learning is going to be much more improved. I want to go on record to say the teachers did a Herculean effort in switching overnight on the 13th of March to be able to do that. With that being said, we know that the bulk of instruction was more of like posting assignments for Google Classroom and Schoology. There were definitely very creative teachers that were able to post videos of themselves and whatnot, but we are moving towards an LMS, learning management system called Canvas. Again, would we have loved to have a lot more time? We could have sat down with teachers, we could have got more buy-in with that. Yes, I'll say it right to the computer screen. But we're building a plane, that plane was taking off. We had to put things in together. The customer is not the principal, it's not me, it's not the teacher, it's the student, it's the parent that has to look at the platform, and they were pulling their hair out of all the different apps they were trying to figure out. And we have to look at our customer as the 85-year-old aunt or grandmother that's supervising the kids, or the daycare facility that's got our kids that's trying to figure this all out. Is it optimal to go? We did the best that we could do given the situation and the circumstances and the timeline. Some of the teachers that maybe didn't want to go to a new platform, some of them have really bought in, which is really exciting because they're sharing with me the capabilities of providing synchronous, which is live instruction, and asynchronous instruction. So there's the 30,000-foot view. What's the priority for in-person? It rests at the elementary, severe special ed, and students that do not have internet access. BOCES, CTE. City BOCES is going to be just draft form right now, and again, this is literally as of 2 o'clock today, operating on an ABCD cycle. So the students would go to BOCES for CTE 1 day a week. They're looking at all their programs and they're cutting them in quarters. Kristen Enright sent me the optimal look to be able to get all Central Square. I sent that over to Chris Todd. We're waiting to hear. We are one of the bigger districts. Hopefully that can kind of play a role in there. But again, we have to see where that all shakes out. The plan is still being developed. For 4 hours with administration, we were at the middle school, all spread out today, putting everything on the table, put survey results from parents, from staff. Are there people that are going to be upset about this? Yeah, 100%. I have no problem talking to staff members, talking to parents, and we're going to be putting something out that really shows the why we made the decision that what we made, and that what else we can do to accommodate those parents that I can tell you right now that are going to be struggling, and my hat's off to them because a lot of them are essential workers. They need to be at work. They're struggling to be able to afford, especially they keep saying that $600 is going away, additional help. My wife was unemployed, now she's back. We're struggling. We're going to do everything we can. But again, the numbers are the numbers. UBK limited 8, classrooms 12 at most. And we're going to be doing temperature checks. We're going to be all of these things that are still coming out right now. What do you do if a teacher tests positive? Do you do a student test positive? All of those things will not be a Central Square decision. That's literally going to come right down from the state and the protocols and the reporting and the closing of a building and the sanitizing and whatnot. It's not really going to be an issue at the secondary level because it's going to be distance learning. So that's pretty much where we're at, 30,000-foot view, because we just got this on Friday.
My big questions are this. Number one, all this is laid before you know that, trying to react, but was there any discussion around is the lift worth the possible results? What I mean is, everyone I've talked to seems to agree that, no one in education seems to think that we're going to go 4 to 3 or 4 weeks of actual, whatever version you come up with, it's going to be shut down. Just saying, that's the real thing. So is it not better, was there any discussion around, should we even plan for that? Or, for instance, instead of, for argument's sake, let's say it's going to cost $1.5 million in adapting to meet requirements that are currently put before you, would you be better to not bring kids back and do PD with teachers, do virtual learning, all that stuff. Again, I'm not poking holes in the plan, I'm just wondering if you thought.
No, so I'm glad you said that because I'm not going to propose the exact change of the calendar, but I will be coming at the next board meeting with a change to the calendar to take 2 staff development days from the winter and front load them, which gives us a little bit more time without students, so the teachers can be really comfortable with the new LMS called Canvas. They say that it only takes an hour. I don't want to do that to our teachers. I want them to feel very comfortable. They say within an hour they'd be able to figure out how to deliver instruction, make their videos and whatnot on Canvas. I think that besides just the LMS, this requirement right here, there's the communication piece, and literally forget about instruction, but everything that the teachers need to know regarding the social distancing, all the factors that are in place about, what to do within their confined area with students, that in itself is going to take time on those days. To go to your other question, in looking at the survey responses, the majority of parents were saying, we still want to try it. So if, let's say that's not the case, Andy, let's say we get into October, it doesn't get shut down. And the other districts are running their elementary classes, which is a huge help for those parents that need that, and for those kids that are sitting home regressing. So part of me agrees with you saying is the likelihood that October or November, second wave hits, boom, 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 and we're back. But as a superintendent, I can only make a decision and a plan based on what we have, and that is doing everything that we're allowed to do, because I feel really bad for those parents that are saying, we have the opportunity, and we're not even going to explore that, which is making it impossible for us to do our jobs, because they've said, we're going to be leaving our 8-year-old alone. I can't consciously know we're going to be leaving a child alone if we don't try to do it. We can do that. We can hand this to whoever wants to talk. Justin?
Just a follow-up. So if in the high 50s, parents were even saying that they would, at this point, consider sending their kids back.
That's just 60%.
Again, it all goes back to, so then how do we support the other 40 to 45% of kids that won't possibly?
If all of them,
effort is on trying to reopen this.
if all of them maybe turn into a no, then yes, because right now it's only 10% that are a definite no. The rest were 32% that were saying they don't know yet, and there's still a lot of time before September. But we will still be providing the distance learning part. So by ending the day at 1 o'clock, the contractual day goes to, I believe, 4:15. We are providing teachers not only their normal planning time, but we're providing them with a chunk of time for the distance learning, so we're accommodating them.
What are we doing for people that are
I'll just repeat what he's saying. So keep the kids in the loop.
for example, the high school, middle school kids, they're going to be home all the time. How are we going to make sure that they're participating / what if they don't attend or they're absent?
So
what
Mr. Hoyt just said was, how are we keeping the middle school kids in the loop and the high school kids in the loop that they're participating and attending? So what I can tell you is in this document, remember, so this will be
we haven't seen that, so.
I said it myself. Okay, so you guys all have this. Basically, what it says in there for the teaching and learning part is it has to be synchronous and asynchronous. So this will be the third learning continuity plan that I've had to submit. And it's going to be much more detailed than even the last one, which is why I read all those things off at the beginning, and those assurances for teaching and learning will be in there. So there's going to be times throughout the day where students have to log on. And I got to tell you, I'm publicly going to say, I am frustrated with the parent that says, how do you expect my kid to be out of bed at 9 o'clock to do this when normally it's 7:30 they're in there? I get it. Parents are frustrated. And I want to hit pause for a second. I'm not mad. I spend maybe 3.5 hours a day talking to parents, and a lot of them are venting. Because here's the deal. Everybody's got things going on in their personal life. I hear it from parents that they're going through divorce right now. They've got kids. They're struggling with this. they're with the father, sometimes they're split. All of that frustration, whether it's from a staff member, a teacher, a parent, a student, gets exacerbated in times of crisis. So what I can say is we will be having very clear expectations for our staff, for our teachers, for our parents, for our students. So there's going to be times when the students synchronously are going to have to log on, middle school, high school, get that 30 minutes, let's say, of instruction, direct instruction. And for the kids that can't do that, they're the ones that we're going to be busting to bring here, social distancing, to be able to do it.
Well, I just was wondering, like how in the past, like my son was absent. I got a text message and an email, my wife got one. Are we gonna get that same?
Yes. So if the child isn't connected and not on, yes, the parent will be contacted saying your child was not in at the time to receive synchronous live instruction. We will be doing that. We also have already put something in during the last closure. It's the social emotional piece, but again, it's even more detailed now. For those students that are struggling, what are we doing for them? Well, I can tell you right now, it's one of the reasons why we kept all 4 SBOs. Hats off to them for doing the wellness checks. And I don't want to say, the silver lining in doing secondary distance learning is we will now have an SBO in each of the 4 buildings that are going to be, have the bulk of the students. Are we going to have students at the high school? Yes, but a much smaller amount because they are going to be the kids that don't have connectivity. But where the buildings are going to be at the capacity that we're allowed to have, we're going to have a special control officer. They do distance checks after school or wellness checks with a school psychologist, counselor, wearing masks. We were doing that before. So we're going to do everything we can to connect with the kids and let parents know. Now, we had some frustration before from parents saying, you know what? They emailed the teacher, we're done. We checked out. Here's the thing. We're going to have numeric grades this time. There's going to be clear expectations, and we understand that parents are going to be frustrated, but we no longer have the right to basically say, okay, we'll give you the bare minimum, because it's very clear what our teachers have to comply with. It's not on the teachers, it's not on the principals. The state has really laid out what the requirements are, and they're not bending on those requirements. But to answer your question, we are going to be in really good contact with the parents of middle school and high school, with all of them, but especially them.
The other question I have, and I know you did a great job when they were out before, but lunch for the kids, most of our kids are very reduced lunch.
Yep.
What's going on? Are we doing the fun stuff like we did before?
So let me repeat that. So Mr. Hoyt just said about food services. Are we going to be providing the same what we did before?
I know you're ending at 1 for the kids.
Yep. So again, it's like we're designing the house right now. What we talked about in the 4-hour meeting that we had today with staff, we had Dave Bartholomew there and Amy Caitlin. So the dilemma that we come in is giving them all their meals like we did before doesn't work out because we can't guarantee that someone's not going to eat that food, that the kid's going to come and be hungry for breakfast. Kids will have the breakfast at school. Parents will still come in and get their meals for the week. Parents at the elementary level have always brought the snack, with their kids will snack midday or whatnot, because we're going to have food that's going to be labeled for that day when they get home. That's not going to be something that needs to be microwaved or frozen or anything like that, because we know that the parents are going to be working, kids are going to be coming home. There's the brother or sister probably just finishing up their day for distance learning. The kid can open up the lunch and have it there. But we spent about an hour just talking about food service and how to keep that going. We're going to have breakfast, we're going to have a snack midday, that lunch, there just wouldn't be enough time, instruction to do things we want to do, and then give them that lunch. 9 o'clock, 9, like, yeah, so it'd be like 9. Not an hour, because there's 22 kids on a bus only, so we're going to be operating that differently. There's not going to be as many stops. We're not allowed to do that. Kids will not be on the bus for an hour.
All kids will eat breakfast, not just people.
Kids will have the opportunity to do it, but
I'm just thinking, my kids eat at 8 o'clock and they eat breakfast, and they would not get lunch until 1:30, but that's a long time for my kids.
so they'll eat breakfast at home, they'll get their snack midday, they'll definitely get the snack. But, and again, it's not written in stone right now, but we're still trying to figure out how we'll be able to them, and when we'd be able to do that.
I guess it's just flexibility with staff, what they can do.
Correct.
For your own kid.
Correct.
What about the kids that are on a one-on-one with the TA? How are you doing?
Second year elementary.
Well, start with elementary first. Are they gonna be able to work with the student?
Yes.
And now what about high school kids that are?
High school, with the one-to-one, we'll have the same thing, distance learning, but this time there'll be breakout rooms available through our software where that one-to-one, they're gonna be planning. So here's the big difference. Before, the teachers were home and they were planning, okay? And they would call the TA. We're gonna be utilizing TAs way more than we did before.
So the
They're
teacher
gonna,
coming to the building?
yep,
Okay, that was my other question.
teacher coming to the building. They're gonna plan with social distance, mask, with the TA. They're gonna talk about those needs that student has and what they then can do to further support that student.
So I just want to make this clear, every teacher is going to be at the building, correct?
Okay, so
During the day, during the day.
Mr. Hoy's question was every teacher is gonna be at the building per day. Here's the thing, we just need to make sure that we have the space to be able to accommodate that. We're looking at the middle school right now to make sure that that is possible. Because remember, some elementary kids are gonna be at the middle school. Foundations programs that would have been running in Hastings, we were originally gonna put them in CSI. We'll have nothing running out of CSI, which right off the bat is gonna save us $90,000. We don't need to hire a new head custodian for CSI. We're utilizing the middle school because we have kids there anyway, teachers there anyway. So we just need to make sure that we have the rooms available to be able to do that. If we don't, we will select those teachers that would then be able to operate out of home. We're talking with legal, we're talking to see are there teachers that have underlying medical issues, that have a doctor's note, even though they've come right out and said it's not covered in FMLA. So I don't want to lead teachers along to say you have a choice. If you don't want to be here, or put a survey out that says, how do you feel? Are you comfortable coming back? I don't want them to think that they actually have a choice. I know that sounds cold, but unfortunately, we have to operate within this right here.
Here's the other part that I got lost there is, how would there not be enough room to have all teachers? If you wanted all teachers to come into the building, you notice how the buildings are both public science, then how would there not be?
Because we got to put 10, 11, or 12 kids in each class instead of 25, 24, or whatever. So we're spreading it out. So in some situations, let's say Nancy Pritchard's class, let's say 25 kids, 4th grade, do math. If you could only get 10 depending on the building, that's now 3 classes.
Right, I get that, but there will be virtually no students in the middle school, or high school, or CSI. Like I'm saying, why couldn't they just?
So we will have students in, sorry, am I hearing you right? We will have the foundations programs from Hastings and other like high intensity needs special
Okay,
areas.
you got high school, CSI, I don't actually see.
It seems like a lot less than what we're
Sure, but when you do the math, and Erin Phillips, I can put her on here, when you do the math and you actually look at all the classrooms, you space out that need, it becomes a staffing issue as well. But I could have Erin or Connie jump in right now. The question is, why would we not be able to accommodate all the teachers coming in, whether they have students or not? And I know it was a measurement, and go ahead.
Not really, hold on.
Hold on. It's loud as it is. Hold on a second. No, I mean, it was way louder before, remember?
Hired Mike.
All right.
To the associate.
Aaron, can you hear me? Hold on. Go.
Hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You want to know why they can't all come in district-wide?
Yeah, so what Andy's saying is, we had this conversation today at the middle school. Why would there be a conversation about a possible lack of space for middle school teachers to be able to come into their classrooms for virtual learning for their kids at home?
Or any class.
Or any classroom, if why would there be an issue if we're utilizing all of our buildings except for CSI?
Well, because we've got classrooms that are going to be used at the middle school now for elementary and elementary basis programs.
Right, I think, so I guess.
You're coming in and out, Aaron.
Andy, are you talking about each having their own classroom? Why would the
No,
teachers come in and
we're
share
into the
their
building.
own? Why
No
would
one's gonna
they-
be in the gymnasium, right?
Right.
Probably have
So why-
social distancing and 40 workstations.
That's what I'm saying, so if you've got four.
I said that, so here's the problem. In our gymnasium, it's a massive echo because with some districts that are much smaller, they're literally roping off part of their cafeteria and part of their gym. Think of how crazy that would sound where you've got, even if you get them all together and you say, okay, we're gonna focus on math and you're gonna kind of team teach, you're still putting that many kids, even 6 feet apart, could be an absolute nightmare to be able to get kids focused.
I'm not even talking about kids, he's just saying, why can't you have more than one teacher in a classroom? Like half the classroom, yeah.
Because they're gonna be doing distance learning and everything they say, all the other kids are gonna hear them in their houses. And it's gonna be echoing and it's gonna be a nightmare.
That makes sense, if you're talking about one teacher per classroom, I was thinking the same thing, why would there be 50%?
We have to make it where it's still meaningful for the teacher to deliver instruction and not have the person over there super loud or be showing a video clip and this teacher be like,
What does a teacher do?
well, so that's the thing. So I don't want to say that that is going to happen right now, but if it is, and we have a space issue, those secondary teachers will be doing the exact same thing that they had done during the closure. They'd still be delivering synchronous instruction to their students through their Chromebook from home. So they would still be meeting, their kids would all be like all these faces are right here. They'd still be, it's not ideal.
Is it a rotational type thing, or do you have a certain set of, certain specific settings to the offsite, or is it going to be changing throughout so that it's fair?
Yeah, so right now our goal is to make it so everybody comes in. So before I go far down that road, I want to spend time tomorrow to really be able to see.
Don't need an answer,
Yes.
just a question.
Yeah. We will shoot for accuracy because here's the deal. We talked about it.
Don't stop. Stop it. It's a question, I don't need an answer. I don't want it. Figure it out.
Yeah.
Reiterate to, I was concerned about that, like the our this staff, that they are all aware that there is no economic or anything.
So what Lori Wood, board member, said was our at-risk staff, whether it's through age or underlying health issues, it's not covered in FMLA. I have the conversations with Lynn Dollar regularly, had it again today. Nobody has contacted her yet. Again, it's one of those unfortunate things that I've been given the rules, I've been given the restrictions, I feel like I'm cold and insensitive. I'm trying to find win-wins along the way, but here's a situation where if someone's not able to come in to do it, then you're talking unpaid leaves. And that's all the guidance that we've gotten right now regarding. Yep.
How's IT dealing with this? How's the IT department gonna deal with this? Is it gonna be the same as it was before? What is parents, I mean, that was a big issue that we had before when we first switched over, but parents didn't know what to do, how to get a hold of people if they had, how to say, sign on issues. Is that gonna be arena still, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, I want to give credit to our IT department that did do a pretty good job. I talked to parents, we joke about that, put in a ticket, but there were parents that said, put a ticket in, and it was solved like within the hour. So I want to give credit to Rain and her crew for being very quick and diligent about answering those problems. But yes, we're not only going to give training to the staff regarding Canvas, but we also want to have a document for parents that says, here it is. It's going to be a lot easier for the parent to try to have to, just think about it, if a parent's got a couple kids, they may have to try to figure out 20 different apps, 3 different learning management systems. They're pulling their hair out every time they got to jump out to YouTube to pop back in, it froze. It's craziness. We think by having this is going to address a lot of those parent issues where they were struggling. Is it going to be perfect? Absolutely not. Are there going to be teachers that stumble and we're going to be there to support them? We're going to be there to support parents. Are there going to be people that are angry and just vent? I've been dealing with that every day. And I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, I got just a couple questions. Is that, and I get this is great, right? Explain that you're going to put this all together. Define what success is, right? So if I ask how many kids actually attended or online, what is the percentage of strength, they're all improved, upgrade, that. How do they score? Is what we're doing effective, right? So look at that. We got a whole bunch of kids in school. The whole thing about having anything you could virtual, what it is. This I have. They take care of a lot. Make sure you put more people this is going to be difficult, right? So as you're getting 30,000 feet, what is December going to look like? Right? You got people, well, won't be there, will be there, but in December, we're kids going to be there. Right? This is a big differential learning. I thought about this being that some kids are going to be very successful, get online, some are not. How is that? You're struggling online, you're not attending classes that you should. What is it going to take? Because you might not be successful. You might not sit down. Kids drop off for a reason. They're not successful. They're not doing well. So what's going to happen? And, you're getting a huge lift, right? Strength down, so you're making so then you're kind of got through it. But was it success or not? I don't know if it was. Now we're starting a new school year. We got a few weeks, I love that. We got a little bit of starting 6 or 7 weeks ago. I love it. We started about December, about what that's going to look like. Going forward, it comes to go over the subject.
Yeah, and I can say this, is it going to be equitable? There's nothing that we do in a plan right there that's going to be equitable for every single household. My wife stays at home, she's with my kids, vastly different than I know the majority of situations are, where parents are both at work, they're struggling to figure this all out, and there's no way.
Well, I get all that. I've heard scenarios, I understand all, there's a million scenarios.
Yep.
But what you've got to define, this is what we're going to do, this is success, this is work, right? Because you look at it, have a whole bunch of different platforms, you adjust it, go and have one.
Right.
Right? So that's a step forward. I think that this is going to be a big heavy lift for a lot of parents to continue. I think everybody kind of stayed with it through the spring, but now it starts to get as far as daycare,
Right.
and how that's all developed. So within this, so as a teacher, I've heard a whole bunch of different things as far as what they're happy with, what they weren't happy with, how things went. And I think that the better that that's defined at the administration level, as far as what success is for a teacher, what success is for a student, what success is overall, I think is going to be really important.
Absolutely, and again, I'm talking right now 30,000, but we are doing that in a little while. I mean, I do want to get in the presentation. Connie did a really good job explaining to all the administrators how the grading is going to be, and I think parents will be very happy to hear how we're going to be doing that throughout the whole week, and then that's going to turn into like semester grades and whatnot, not based on one assignment, but whether the student is getting the standard or not. So a lot of districts actually went to that before COVID. But to your point, yes, whatever we do, we got to measure it. We got to be able to see if it's effective, and then if it's not, we do it. So taking a look right here, elementary instruction. This is what we just talked about. Band, art, music, we teach in virtual. So when we're having the kids in, it's the core academic areas are going to have to be our most focused areas. And the reason for that is, even with band and instruction, they already have, when you go through this, you'll see the restrictions with lessons, and they're saying when kids are singing and what that does is a lot different than kids just speaking, and they put so many restrictions on that as well. So what you can see here is the day, 9 o'clock, 1 o'clock, teacher day is on there. Talk about contractual lunch and planning, but Christy, again, we'll talk about what works best for the lunches. Go to the next one. Sample schedule. We'll talk about AA, BB.
So, if the original desire, obviously, there's no way we can possibly do it, because we all want our kids in the school 5 days a week. So we've got, 2 days a week, half of them come in, and then we get paid virtual. Why is the day condensed then, so like the normal?
Because they're going to have virtual. The teachers are still going to have students that they're going to be responsible to provide that virtual instruction to them, synchronous and asynchronous. We can't extend the teacher's contraction with that. So we already have certain restrictions that we have to work with. So by ending the student's day at 1 o'clock allows those teachers, they may have 4 kids in their class that aren't coming in because parents don't feel comfortable with it. We can't just say to teachers, stay after, take care of that. It has to be built into that.
So that's for children that aren't coming in at all, then, right?
Correct.
So they couldn't all just be put in one classroom with that? That's not-
Yeah, that was gonna be my question, is that when you go to the virtual, because as I've been explaining to parents, if you have a class of 18, you only have 9. In order to you're instructing them all day, not. It requires 2 people, right? So you can split the day up, or, as I've talked about, it's opportunity to change, right? I've seen where I work at, people that never work from home. So you have virtual teacher, who go in and understand the lessons for the day, and you can form different, change.
Yeah, no, so what we're waiting on right now, I put my original survey out. It said 59% to 10% were no. But then we did follow-up that each principal sent an survey through email to the parents. And that basically says, for this one, if there's not anonymity, you have to say who you are, so then we can plan bus routes, we can plan. Now, if that's the situation and we see that there's going to be a much greater need, then we look at this within the next week or two and we say, okay, it looks like we will have a need for just virtual only teachers that will then take those students. And here's the other problem. Parents still may say, okay, I'm going to start off with distance learning. But a month into it, if I feel comfortable, I'd like my kid to still be with the teacher of record and then come in. Or the opposite way works as well. I'm not ruling out the fact that we can't have a teacher and just do virtual. That once we get more of this information from the principals give to the parents, then we're going to be able to look at that and go, okay. And then if we can get a win-win with those teachers that it would just be more optimal, whether it's age or whether it's pre-existing conditions, then we can figure that out.
So, I have a kid at the AA, they're in school on Monday, Tuesday, they're working with home Wednesday. They're also working with home Thursday, Friday,
Right.
right? So this is still a 5-day week. So the teacher, either after doing 1 or 3 or 4:30, is
It's gonna
going
be-
to be teaching the kids that are on the other
100%.
day.
100%.
So it's not just the kids that are
Correct.
opting not to come in at all,
Correct.
it's the entire class.
Correct.
So
It's
they
really,
have 3 days of virtual,
Yeah.
not like, hey, we gave you on your AA day, we gave you everything. On your BB day, when you don't come in, you're on your own doing what we gave you.
there could be one of those days where they're doing on their own asynchronous, they're watching the video clip, they're seeing how they're practicing, and then the next day, let's say 1 o'clock, that teacher will then be on, checking in, providing that feedback and instruction.
I don't know, how contentious of a question.
It's more of a statement. It's contentious only in that, and if you can see me online. No, because I respect everything you're doing, I'm not trying to question it. It's truly a question that doesn't need to be answered right now, so I'm sure you guys will consider it. But at what point is it diminishing returns? Like, to me, you're talking about K through 5, 2 days a week with, let's go up on the side, say 70%.
Okay.
But there are expenses to a lot of other things that are happening. It's like, I think you guys are trying to do the absolute best you can for the plan, but
Again, looking at the survey from the parents, and personally speaking, there's a huge disconnect with the elementary kids that don't get an opportunity to go in, see their teacher, see their classmates. That's huge. So there's a level of reading instruction, even though it's going to be half. I mean, when I say half, it's going to be 2 days a week instead of 5 days a week. There's going to be some of that instruction with that because the gap at home is so great from what parents are able to provide their kids from household to household. So I still feel, as superintendent, if there's still an opportunity to get those kids in twice a week, it's far better than saying at the elementary level, we're going to go full on. I feel that, so in the administration. Yeah.
My concern is with the kindergarten, first grade. I volunteer in kindergarten class, and there's no way these kids are going to stay apart. I just cannot think of, with the mask and everything, and I just don't feel that the mask thing is going to work for them, only because they want to be with their friends, they love their friends, they're, hugging and all this stuff. It puts rigidity on them, just, I just think it's going to be very, very tough for these kindergarten teachers and first grade teachers.
Duly noted. Again, I go back to say, we still have to give it a shot. I am pretty amazed at what the kindergartners can do and what those kindergarten teachers can do when it comes to providing structure and how quick they've got. Even kids that weren't even in a pre-K system. Hats off to those kindergarten teachers, how quickly by week 2, those kids are single file line, they're doing everything. I still feel we got to give it a shot. I mean, there are parents screaming out in those survey responses saying, any instruction, we don't have the capability to teach our kids how to read, and it's breaking our heart, but we're seeing the gaps. Anything is better than not seeing their teachers at all.
And they'll have like 12 kids instead of 20.
True.
I think you're going to move on after the back to the sorry. Just, the surveys will be answered, but there's also a lot of social elders who get a lot of listen to you. You don't want to go back. But if the neighborhood said, if you're wearing a mask, not doing a fun job play, that's not going to follow it. So I mean, there's just a lot of.
So what Chance Nickerson just said was what the quality of the day going to look like, and parents have contacted her and they said, what's that look like? Is that we need to know? And I've had those conversations that some parents have said, can you do a video? So the parents said, we'd like the video, do a video, show what the day would look like, we can show a couple classrooms. So Chance, to answer your question, as long as the kids are 6 foot apart, the mask can come off. And if you think about it, like what Kathy said, you're not going to have 20 or 21 kindergartners. You're going to have 12, maybe 10, depending on the room size. And the kids will be able to take their masks off. If the teacher's going to get close, they got to put their shield on, their mask. We got some play there in what masks they use. But overall, is it going to look the same? No. And I don't want any parent to think that. The buses are going to look different. One kid in the seat, kids getting their temperature checks. All of this is done. Going to seem normal, but we're going to make the best of it, given the parameters that we have. I do think kids are pretty resilient, and I think if you were to ask a kid, they'd like the opportunity to. I know my kids would to at least see their friends 6 foot apart, than not, because it's just that social impact. It's really a lot of elementary parents said we've been doing it the right way. We've been very selective in what neighborhood kids we're keeping our kids with. But it's killing our kids. There's a social aspect of school where a kid asks a question, the other kid hears that question, and then learn from that when the teacher's helping that other child as well. So there's that part, and again, at the elementary level, I worry. That's why if you look at all the other districts, they're putting the emphasis as well on the elementary to give as many days as possible. Just because if those foundational skills aren't got at elementary, those gaps are still there.
Much as I have to do at home, travel a lot of distance here in the last couple minutes. But a few minutes ago, you used the comment along the lines of contractual limitations regarding the teachers. My question, I'm not worded quite right, y'all can string me up later, I don't really care. If anybody asks the teachers, can they provide more outside of their contract in these extraordinary conditions, situation? Is there an ability to ask the question? Is there an ability to address the teachers and ask the question, can they provide more? I don't know the answer, but I'm gonna ask the question.
So what Mike Lyon just said was, can we at least ask the teachers, can they provide more beyond what the contractual obligations say to be able to accommodate for possibly more in-person instruction?
Whatever would best benefit the students to get them closer to the end result, at the end of the year, that which they need to be. Contract aside, you know my background, I've been asked to do a lot of crap that was well outside the purview of what I was supposed to be doing in my 25 years of serving this great country. We're in a situation right now, and maybe there needs to be a little bit more consideration for that. Like I said, y'all can string me up later, whatever that means, but I think now is the time to consider what more can we do for these students outside of some contractual limitation. My contract with all of our
Except for all of us, there are jobs.
everybody.
Well, yeah.
And I know my daughter, you know, with her teacher third grade, she'd be coming on at 7, 8 o'clock at night and staying up because some of her kids' parents are essential workers. So they weren't home with them during the day. So she was one of the ones. There are those that won't do that.
Oh, right.
But there are a lot of our teachers that work beyond their contractual
Right.
obligation.
Lori, that's not my question. My question was in response to the limitation placed in the context of the statement was due to contractual limitations. My only point was, is can we ask the question to provide more? That's all I'm saying. Whether we can or can't, I don't know. Your daughter did more, went above and beyond without being asked by someone. We asked the question, can we pose that to the teachers union and say, can you guys address this, maybe a recommendation? Is it yes or no? Is it middle of the road, compliment? I don't know. Just a question. That's just a question.
I can ask them. Next question, middle school instruction. If you take a look right here, it's what we've already talked about. Again, synchronous instruction is going to be required now. So it's going to have to be live instruction. That's why we're going to be bringing the students in that do not have access to the internet. Go to the next one. There's a sample schedule of a middle school student.
So Tom, we're being a little slow with this. I think just because of the way the previous slide says, students will be instructed with asynchronous, so 2 words. On Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So they're actually coming online and going into a virtual classroom with those times.
So when students are getting asynchronous, it's already been taped, it's already been recorded and sent to the student.
Right, I'm just trying to figure out this one, it's not asynchronous, it's one word, space, synchronous,
Yes.
second word.
So that's live instruction.
Yes, so Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, they're gonna have 30 minutes actually coming online, virtual, in a classroom together.
Synchronous instruction, right.
Copy that.
Sorry, you were saying A space synchronous.
Yes. I was feeling a little slow.
Go to the next one, bro. And there's the teacher sample schedule. All right, bro. High school instruction combination of both. See a lot of similarities we just talked about. Friday would be, sorry.
I just wonder what, so 4 days of like class schedule for middle school, 1 day for high school? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I have 3 for high school and 1 for middle school. I just wonder why.
I I believe we can make up the team teaching in the middle school compared to the different single teams in high school, but I can ask. And then finish up Friday is that's when they make up all of the work, you know, that they need to do. Next one, bro. That's a high school sample schedule. And again, at the high school, it's a little bit different, Andy, where you have the credits. You have to be able to have graduation, the actual course that you need.
Just to clarify, so for the high school, are we going back to non-one?
Correct. Those are traditional 9. Yep.
So every day we say.
Correct. Bro? Special education, again, that's, you know, the faith, the free appropriate public education, meaningful parent engagement, collaboration with CSE, CPSC, and program providers. We've moved a couple things around to be able to accommodate parents a little bit better with special education when it comes to their IEPs on a monthly model. It just makes it much more cleaner and easier for parents. As you see, special education inclusive programs follow each individual hybrid model. An example of those inclusive programs like foundation programs. We will actually have a legit resource room program established. Special education classes were utilized in middle school for daily in-person special education instruction and related services for children with significant needs. And again, with a 145-page document, they were a little bit more specific on what we need to do for our special needs students.
So the kind of OT, speech, all those services that are provided.
They are. So, question here, Dr. Collins, from Steve Cash was OT, PT service providers. Are they going to be provided in person, or are they going to be like teletherapy? You want to jump on?
Sure. So can you hear me? Can everybody hear
very
me?
crystal clear.
So we had a subcommittee for special education, and we've met, and I want to thank those committee members who are at the meeting tonight. I see some of you here with me. And our related service professionals that met on that subcommittee and who worked collaboratively with me. And through the spring, the state has allowed us to really look at our children who need related services on a case-by-case basis. So what we will be doing is looking again this school year at the children and their needs and determining which children we can service through the virtual model, which children could be serviced in the hybrid model, and which children will need their services on an in-person basis. So we will be looking at each child individually and determining on a case-by-case basis how to best service those children and families. Our IEPs are written in our related service realm on a monthly basis. So each child, when it comes to OT, PT, or speech, have those sessions delineated on a monthly service model. So our related service providers will determine how best to service those children on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you. Again, equal access to virtual learning. We talked about this. Secondary students have no or limited internet access would be, for whatever reason, would be able to be bused to call more and housed in large group instructional areas. Again, far spread out to be able to have the support in the room. But for a lot of them at that age, it's literally just being able to be within Wi-Fi. We also today talked about the possibility, if there's areas, let's say North Shore, let's say there's an area where it's a huge area. We talked about possibly with a hotspot on a bus that we could just park in an area where there could be mass parking. Other districts are doing that as well. People are utilizing massive parking lots to be able to gain that. But these are all things that we're all working on.
I thought in the survey before we got our first virtual, wasn't it something like 94% said yes, they have Wi-Fi?
It was very high. It was very high, but then the problem was some parents saying, yes, they had the internet, but it was internet that they didn't know before, but then it was cutting out, and the state is saying we got to address that problem.
You guys heard the quality of my conversations
Exactly.
of our virtual meetings.
which kind of turned into a robot voice for a little while.
Yeah.
You are
Well, and
almost.
that's one of my concerns with the attendance aspect. We are in and out, and so if it happens to be in that 30 minutes, it's supposed to be synchronous. For some reason, the internet's out of the house, we just have to be marked absent, or we absent policy like this.
No, it would be contact with the parent to say, hey, you know, what had happened. Here's the good thing too. We're able to then record lessons as well. So for the kids that are at home on those other days, they can still see the instruction with the teacher. They can hear the students asking questions and whatnot, which is going to be huge in itself. Especially for those parents that are saying, we don't need posted assignments. We need instruction because we're pulling our hair out trying to figure out Common Core math. We can teach the way we did before, but we're going to be counting on our fingers. The parents, I get it. It's frustrating. So they just wanted, and Canvas will allow for that much better.
Well, so I guess the question is then, for instance, with the AA students, on those PP days, the AA students would be like uploaded at 1 o'clock, and when the AP students go home, then that whole school day of instruction will be uploaded, or is it going to be live, available live for the students at home better?
That's what we're working out right now. Bro? And we talked about Canvas. This kind of talks about it right here. The rationale when the closing of schools due to COVID, the uncertainty of reopening, it was imperative for students to provide instructional opportunities. Google Classroom was not made to be able to provide instruction distance learning methods. Teachers really like it. If you ask the typical teacher, hey, you know, what do you think about it? I love it, I don't want to change. But if you look at the survey from the parents, there were some teachers that definitely went above and beyond and used that platform for ways that it wasn't meant to be. They were very creative in how they would take video clips and embed things and whatnot. For the typical person, it really was more of just posting activities instead of the ease of embedding their actual lessons that they're able to watch.
Any idea percentage-wise, is anyone else using Canvas beforehand?
That's a great question. Arena, before I have you answer Andy's question, he said before COVID, were anybody using Canvas? I did just talk to Lynn Dowler, and she said that one of the teachers new on our staff was excited about Canvas because they actually used it in her past district. And it was like, I'm more than happy to be able to show the capabilities of this. But Arena, you can jump on now. Did you hear what Andy's question was?
I think I did, so I'm going to answer it. If I didn't catch it, completely repeat it. So, in our search, Canvas is used by Syracuse City, and it's used by Watertown currently. It's also used by other people, like other people have friends and relatives or people work in other districts and colleges. It's used a lot in the post-secondary world as well. So, for example, Kathleen, sitting right there with you, her daughter uses Canvas in her nursing program. So she had experience with Canvas.
Thank you.
Did I answer it?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
Is that replacing everything? So the classroom, school G, school, all that?
Well, no. School tool is always part of it. That's not a learning management, that's a student management system. But regarding, there's ways to be able to, and tell me if I'm wrong, so what she just said, Arena, was, will Canvas then replace Google Classroom? Google Classroom is free, it didn't cost us anything. But do you want to talk about how they align?
Sure. So Canvas is a learning management system, meaning it manages all learning. School Tool is our student information system, and that's all our data. So they're not the same product, but they do integrate together so that when we set the system up, and Kathleen, again, she's sitting with you, she'll be doing a lot of this work, the classes will be rostered out of School Tools, so teachers don't have to do it. It's also going to integrate with School Tools gradebook, so teachers don't have to put the grades in Canvas and then put them in School Tool. They can just do it once and it flows over. So
let's talk about Google Classroom.
Google Classroom. So Google Classroom will no longer be used because it's literally just a posting system, but everything a teacher has made in Google, so all the documents, the videos, the forms, the assessments, all of that can be used in Canvas. Anything people have created in Schoology can migrate to Canvas, so we don't lose anything.
So, Lorraine, for a parent perspective, would it be fair to say that if you're talking about content or assignments, it's Canvas. If you're looking for the results of work already done, it's School Tool?
You can actually get it in both places. So parents will have the ability to still use School Tool on their, the parent portal, or there is a parent app for Canvas, which will give them the same thing. So now that we've made the decision, we'll be prepping some videos, and I think Tom alluded to some, handouts and guides for parents. We'll be setting up some learning for kids, and of course for our staff.
Thanks, Brandon.
So is Canvas web-based, cloud-based?
You said is Canvas web-based, cloud-based, or?
It's web and cloud. You access it through the web. It'll be a single sign-on with Google. Everything is stored in the cloud.
Okay. So we don't have to rely on our server?
We're not relying on
Yeah.
that, sir.
No, nothing's housed here.
That's my point.
Yep. All right, next one, bro. CTE, as we talked about before, again, tentatively today. I also jumped into a Chiefs meeting at the middle school remotely, and that's when he talked about going on a 4-day cycle and getting the kids there. They would stay there all day. While they were there, they would build in a study hall part of it, so those students that are missing their synchronous instruction would still be able to then asynchronously get whatever video was being taught. We understand that some kids literally only come to Paul B. Moore for BOSEs. And we don't want to try to fit a square peg in a circle in a square hole. Did I say that word? Round hole. Whatever. Yeah. Every kid's different, and we want to be able to still allow them to have their passion. All right, bro. Social emotional mental health. We talked about this family outreach program that we developed, subcommittee. Kristen Enright, school sites. That's going to be huge. We talked about that before, Randy, with the level of disconnect. What are we doing for the kids? Social emotional needs, and again, that's required in the document. Next one. Transportation, again, John Pierce and Paul Brissett, I will say, are the best two in their fields, and I've worked in a number of different school districts. Besides John, I want to give a shout out to Yolanda Bertrand, who's phenomenal. She is equally as important as John in putting these routes together, and they've been looking at that right now with TransFinder. We have a system that can literally identify where all these kids are to help us with our routes and our, as you know, it's not going to change. They're going to go to the furthest distance and work their way in. All right, bro.
Sorry, one question on it. So on transportation, just for everyone watching this, assuming that some version of this plan go forward is what we actually do, no one should expect any savings in transportation. We're still utilizing, for the most part, the fleet. Once again, hopefully K-3, K-5.
Yeah, so what Andy said was, for anybody watching, not to expect a savings in transportation, because we're going to have to utilize the fleet to be able to cut it down to 22 kids on the bus, even though it's just elementary.
Well,
And the special needs runs, and the
Will they all be
accommodated.
together? So high school kids?
Yes.
Something elementary kids?
Yes. Yep.
We'll see what the manager is going to come up with.
Well, but again, we're not making no stops. We're not stopping 60 times. And kids that are in a family can sit in the same seat together. Bro.
So the savings on transportation comes by assuming some middle school and high schools are not attending in person. All extracurricular activities are.
Well, so there's the thing. I know right now, and I want to be very clear to everybody watching this, there are organizations in New York State that'll be like the New York State Athletic Association. Okay? It says, we're postponing our sports season to September 23rd. So people are like, oh, so it's going to be September 23rd? You do the same as you spent? No, it's great that they want to come up with these arbitrary dates, but until the governor says, I'm going to allow for this, they can put a date all day long. Doesn't mean that that's going to be the case. I personally will find it shocking if any sports run or any like band type thing, marching band, field, all that stuff happens this year. I would be shocked, given what the governor has done so far, if that actually happens.
So same with clubs and activities.
Correct. There'll be no 5:30 bus run, things like that.
Until the day comes when we can bring all students back in the building, how do you possibly say
Right.
that? And I know that's not what you're saying, but yeah. Basically, until the governor,
Correct.
let school districts run school districts. It's not-
But for the world watching this through Zoom, we're not doing this to save money, we're doing this because that's a requirement of the government.
But basically speaking, we should just fund that in any savings. We don't
I feel like that's gonna be expense.
don't even worry about saving, we just put it so we can do it less. We're doing more.
Mike brings up a good point. I know there was a number, there was like 1.7 million that the head of the school superintendent's group had put out with the PPE, with the cutting a third of the bus, kids could be on the bus in a classroom, spreading kids out, things like that. The cost of Canvas is like $60,000. That is most sustainable, so that he's going to pay 75% of that, but still, got to come up with it year one. All of those things, but to Mike's point, yeah, it's going to be not cheap,
We're
not saving.
We're not talking about saving it. Take that right up the table.
Yep.
Saving, we're not saving anything. We're talking about getting kids back to a level of proficiency. And it's gonna cost money, it's gonna take time, it's gonna take a hell of a lot of work.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what scares me, right, is if you look at the data, they're all in two after-school activities. What we have a higher grade book, right, leadership. So you take away, well, what's gonna be the risk of taking away the after-school, right, I think, that's
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so what,
So that, I'm not.
no, I'm just
saying-
going to repeat it so you can hear what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it, so it worries, right, that, to me, that's one of the results of what we gotta do, right, we should gotta do it from December.
So what Steve Pash just said is just to make it a point on record that we know right now from the study, the data that proved that kids that were more connected in a band, in a club, in an activity did far better than students that weren't. So we know that that's going to be an issue. We've heard the president say that where, some people are worried of sending kids to school, but there are a lot of other huge issues not sending kids back to school. So we know that's an issue and there's going to be negative effects to it, 100%. That's custodial maintenance. Again, they're going to be disinfecting as per the CDC guidelines. We have those Clorox 360. It's not Clorox, but that's the company, and it's pretty impressive. You can spray it in a coffee mug and still drink out of it. You don't have to close Chromebooks, teacher stuff. It's pretty impressive to be able to hit down the buses, hit down the buildings and the classrooms. There's no doubt about it. This is going to be a monumental lift for all departments, especially our maintenance. Yep.
The ionized machines I use them, are awesome. Just walk around with a backpack, don't take a they got those sorts of stickers.
And to Mike's point a little while ago, it comes with a price tag.
Yeah, there is a price tag, they're expensive.
Yeah, I bought.
You can do this area, around 15 months. It's that good.
Next one, problem. District offices, open as usual, PPE. So the other thing, board, is that a little bit of cost savings. Again, as we talked about, CSI will be closed. That means we won't have to hire a head custodian. There'll be savings there. There'll be savings with the stipend about having the secretary in the building.
Right,
So
those savings are gonna get eaten.
100%. Look, when I say
Cost
savings,
avoidance.
cost avoidance is the better term. All right, bro. Again, this is draft. Things are literally changing as we speak. That's why coming out with an actual plan to give you guys what's been impossible for today. I just want to give credit to the teachers that have volunteered to be. There's like 56 teachers that volunteered to sit on these different committees. Hats off to the administrators that we would have normally taken vacation time. Not. We said we were. We're working. Everyone's doing the best that we can. We can sit here and you guys are doing a great job asking the questions. That's your job. You represent the community. But in any plan, in any district, there are going to be people that can look at this and say, this won't work, that's not going to work, this is not, and some things won't work, some things will work. It's going to be the ability to be flexible, that parents will see that we're trying our very best, looking at the data with the elementary and what we're trying to accomplish here. And just know that it's not Central Square, it's every district in New York State is struggling with the same thing.
Camera or microphone?
It's both.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure that the staff hears.
See, that's it right there.
First of all, thanks for all the work on the plan, and don't take anything that we're saying as, we're not trying to rip it apart. We just, to Tom's point, literally, while I've been sitting here, probably 16 different messages right for the last couple of pages now. But at the end of the day, what I just want to make sure when you come back with whatever quote you find the plan is, of course, that's a snapshot of time, but we just all have to be aware, we aren't saying that it's a great plan. What we're saying is it's the best plan from an administrative standpoint, because when I look at this plan, and it's selfish, I'm fully saying that up front, but I only have a high school plan, right? So I look at the plan, I'm like, this sucks. Like my high school kid, this is not really good. It's the lesser of evils in administrative mind, and I'm saying that because even if I say I don't like something, it's not that I don't support what you guys are doing. Everyone's gonna be dealing with unmet expectations, and I'm happy that's not.
I'm glad you brought that up because there's probably a lot of parents watching this going, I don't have my kids in elementary anymore. But all the research shows there's gaps, the way the mind develops. If they don't have certain skill sets before they get into middle school, they're not going to achieve those. And then it's an uphill battle for the middle school high school teachers to try to get it. Yep, good point. All right.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, Tom. Moving into reports. No unfinished business, but any topics?
No, I just wanted to give kudos to the SROs. I've heard from at least one parent that there was some things or congratulatory notes going out and handwritten notes to some seniors wishing them luck in the future endeavors. And it just goes to your, quality of the SROs like that. So I think
That was Christian Christman just gave kudos to the SBOs as they have written many handwritten letters to parents and comment. We're very fortunate to have the 4 SBOs.
I'll do a couple quick updates just for everyone to know. Pearl's going to work on scanning in tomorrow. The district resident forwarded some sort of article. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but so we'll make sure you all get a copy of that. And I think it was just basic information, right? Something about technology and
How else would that
having to build stuff. That will all come over to you. I want to simply point out that if you get the chance, put on your lobbying hats. Our New York State legislators and senators are pushing legislation to do an incentive. I cannot wrap my head around this, but if you're 55 or older and 25 years in the system, or, no, I'm sorry, 50, I meant, or 55 years old and 10 years in the system, they want an incentive to give credit and basically full retirement. In a time where we need more teachers than ever, and need more experience than ever, they want an incentive to get people on the system. I don't understand what's going on. I can tell you it.
And you also have to understand, from the standpoint of a teacher, they've got family, they've got their retirement that they've worked in for. There are people in districts, including ours, that are retiring now because they look at their last 3 years and whatnot, and they know, well, we're not going to have band, or we're not going to have sports, so that's actually long term. I get it. I mean, those are factors that every teacher in every district, when they're close to retirement, are looking at.
I am sad to say they're both upstate New Yorkers. Senator Joseph Griggle of Rome and Assemblywoman Marianne Buckenshow from our city. So, baffling and unbelievable. And then finally, I'll forward you, I just got it before this meeting, but Mrs. Haskins, we had put together a synopsis of a question from the board as far as OCs and costs and what they're doing. So I'll forward you the response, but I'll just give you the summary, which is doing the same old we're facing, right? There is no savings. In fact, it costs a heck of a lot more to do what they're doing. On a really good note, though, she did update me and say that, BOCES doesn't control whether or not the students get their certifications, for instance, in nursing, well, and those sort of things, and without the hand-on instruction, they were just their hands are tied. The certification agencies are finally starting to address that now, so there's some hope that they actually will get that. So they'll get as many kids as they can. Some of them, are already out into the workforce and kind of past that point, but I'll forward you that. Any other topics? Anything you want to bring up?
Well, since Tim's not here, I'll go on record.
Well, they're back in.
Go on record. I think what we're seeing here is a stepping stone toward 100% virtual education, controlled, possibly at the county, certainly, or possibly at the state level. I think we're treading on real thin ice. I think we're on a slippery slope and all those things that go along with that kind of stuff. I think we as the public need to be very cautious of where this is leading us. Where our, I use the term, extremely interested, where our state leadership is taking us. And if there's ever an opportunity to make your voice heard, now might be the time, because 6 months, a year, 2 years from now, it's probably going to be too late. And I think we are at the precipice of seeing a lot of what we enjoy as a school district being taken away, shuttled off to other levels that you, the taxpayer, locally, right down the street, 50 yards from the school, will have zero control. This is it. This is the start of it. And I hope Tim is proud of it. And King Cuomo, and you know what, a certain part of my head.
If you have a chance, probably, like
More
that.
complicated than 174 page document.
Anything
I
else
think
on
they
the board?
will see that there are a lot of things that clearly the data and proof don't work as well with a social work environment. Stuff that's normally hands-on, like biology and science division.
True, but we've got that individual at the helm that I don't think is going to get too short sharp ones about that. Tim, that was for you.
Scope, anything on the superintendent's report?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that BOCES for CTE, not only were they gonna have the in-person, they're gonna have skill kits that go home with the kids, and the kids are able to work on the stuff that they will be working on in their program. So I had that.
Glad you brought that up. In the future, when we update on the plan, you can talk to us about some of that in our specialist well that we're going to look for art and things like that. All right, there are no items for discussion and action, so we can skip that. So, make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Away, any discussion? Our next meeting is 2 weeks from today, August 3rd, I believe, right? And I am almost certainly not to be here, so this will have to help. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you for everybody for watching, all 80